think the one of the decisions I would change is launching with the technology, leading that, and then the concierge services and pricing according to that.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Founder. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Muller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours? Just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Karina Muller. And Karina started her founding journey. So before doing the current business, was doing another startup around health and wellness, working in that business in that industry. And then COVID hit and kind of did away with that business, and or that was doing well up until that point. So kind of forced a pivot to doing a bit more focus on video and Zoom. So changed the business model around that had been doing for a number of years, and also had to take a step back and or assist with some aging parents during that time as well. So had a lot of conversations with friends about supporting aging parents, and that kind of led to a bit of what she's of the business that she's doing today. So with that much as a an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Karina.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to be here with you, Devin, and chat.
Absolutely, always fun to have you on. So, well, I just gave a quick overview to a longer founding journey. Now, before we dive in, just as a quick reminder to the audience, so Karina's been on a couple of our sister podcasts, both the Inventive Journey as well as the Inventive Expert. So, if you haven't had a chance to catch those episodes, definitely invite you to go check those out. But as far as now diving into the episode at hand, so before we dive into the current business, walk us through a little bit, kind of what you were doing just before then. You were working at a startup and doing health and wellness business in that industry, and then COVID hit. So maybe pick it up from there and tell us a little bit about how that occurred.
Sure. I always go back and forth whether it was really a startup or a small business, because it's been around 15 years at this point. So I think maybe that constitutes it as a small business. I don't know. It's always a question. So that business is Mariposa Wellness, and it's about stress management and educational seminars and webinars and in-person wellness sessions around helping people cope with everyday life stress, frustration, emotions. And it was a highly successful business. Fortunately, up until COVID, because we taught everything in person, and we taught these sessions and seminars in person, mostly to hospital employees and some corporate employees, tech employees, financial employees, but our biggest clients were hospitals. And as you can imagine, when COVID hit, that sort of forced us to do a fast pivot into the world of Zoom and videos and all of that fun stuff, which now everybody's very used to, but it was sort of a novelty in 2020, right? And to start to teach on Zoom and sessions. And part of it is great because you can reach a wider audience. And through all this, as you quickly mentioned, I started to have to deal with aging parents and illnesses and their issues. And so it all came together, and I was trying to repivot this business and learn the whole online thing and creating videos and video libraries to teach online, and then taking care of my elderly parents and through their illnesses. And through all this, I had a colleague in the industry, and we'd been talking most of the first year that COVID hit, because she was also dealing with elderly parents and all that entails and involved. And after a year of being each other's confidants and resources and having these conversations, we really had this big aha moment of there has to be a better way to do this. And since we both came out of health and wellness and HR, and she has a lot of experience in benefits and insurance and running wellness platforms. And I had all this experience as a vendor into the world of health and wellness. We thought, well, why don't we bring together our professional and personal experiences to create Motivity Care? And that's how it all came about. But I feel like it's kind of a transition. The principle of Mariposa Wellness is about teaching caregivers to take better care of themselves in order to take care of others. And I found myself front and center being a caregiver and utilizing everything that I was teaching in order to better take care of my parents. So the transition seemed seamless at the time. And I now still
Now
do
let me just
some
dive in and just
Sorry,
ask
go
a
ahead.
question. No, all good. So, question two on that. So you're doing whether it's a startup or small business, and I agree. Sometimes that line blurs, and I'm not sure. Everybody has a bit of their own definition to it. But you're doing that at the time now, as COVID is starting to come along. It seems we're starting to pivot and adjust. Did you shut down that business, or did you transition it to the business doing now and just kind of revitalize it? But how did you, either the case, and it looks like you shook your head that that business was the one that evolved, but how did, was there a trigger point, or how did you figure out, one, the current model isn't working, and two, what to pivot or transition to?
Oh, so just to be clear, Devin, they're still two completely separate entities.
Okay.
So they're not, one didn't bleed into the other. It was just as I had to transition and really pivot Mariposa Wellness into a completely different model of online, this opportunity of Motivity Care sort of really appeared with this colleague of mine in the industry, and we were personally living it and had this professional experience. And that's why we had this big aha moment of, we have to create a business in order to create a better way to handle this situation, right? Being that person sandwiched in the middle of all of this, right? Trying to take care of ourselves, possible children, elders, running your business, all of it. And so we saw a great need and a great opportunity, and we saw the pain points. And that's why we created Motivity Care. Mariposa Wellness is sort of still floats around because there's still very much a need on that side of stress management and all of that and education, but it's very much an online business, and it's very different than Motivity Care being truly this tech startup and truly there to support that caregiver managing the care of their elder loved ones.
Okay, gotcha. So now, just maybe follow that question a bit more. So or as COVID or a hit, you say that the opportunity kind of came along, or there was one that kind of came to the forefront. But how did walk us through a little bit? How did that opportunity come up, or how did you realize that maybe that was an opportunity or direction to head, and kind of walk us through a little bit more of that transition?
Well, it was that year that my co-founder and I spent speaking to each other and trying to find resources and support and information. And it's super fragmented, it's difficult, it's overwhelming, it's time consuming. And we sort of became each other's confidant and resource hubs, right? Like I would call her and I would say, do you know about this? And she would call me, she'd be like, well, do you know about this? Or I have a question of this. And we realized that there has to be a better way to do all that research, finding the resources, implementing the information. And we kept searching for it, Devin, right? Each individually, we kept searching for a better way to manage this. And we kept conferring with each other, like, did you find anything? Did you find anything? And it was sort of after a year, we're like, we still haven't found anything. So let's create something, because we don't see what we need out there.
So and that makes sense. And a lot of times you go and you originally kind of look and see what's out there, look for that resources, and then you find out that, hey, it's either bits and pieces maybe out there, but that the the full need or offering isn't out there, or it's not being done well, and that so you decide to take advantage of the I don't know, in a good way, take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to you, and start to build a business around that. So as you kind of are looking for that and saying, okay, it's not really out there for what we need, from there, kind of how did you go about actually forming a business to solve that need, or kind of what was that process for you?
Well, I think a big point between my co-founder and I is that we have the professional experience, right? I had built Mariposa Wellness into a very successful business. She has come out of insurance and benefit and ran wellness platforms and did that side. So the business side of that, we had a very strong hold on, and then we had our personal experience, and we were seeing those pain points, and so we combined those things, right? Like, okay, here's our professional experience, and here's what we have seen, and this is how things have been launched or done in health and wellness, in health tech, in insure tech, in all these aspects, and here are the pain points that we didn't find solutions for. And so that's how we came together. And then we took a bit of time and said, okay, well, what is our solution? And that's when we developed the technology part of it. And then we understood there needs to be a human aspect associated with the technology. So it can't just be an age tech company solely focused on elder care or the silver economy with just technology. We needed a human aspect combined.
So now, so you kind of, you identified that. Now, over kind of what period of time do you identify it, and how did you form the business around it, or kind of what were those steps that you took to start to solve the problem?
Yeah, so we formed the company in April of 21, and then we had a vision for what we wanted in technology, but we couldn't, find it, or we started to look for it. We did a whole bunch of research. It took us probably 4 to 6 months to really understand what we wanted as the technology and who we could partner up with to help us build the technology and do the things we wanted it to do. And we interviewed a whole bunch of tech teams and other people doing maybe a similar thing, but not exactly what we wanted. We also quickly formed an advisory board because, especially on cybersecurity and information and those kind of things, we wanted really an understanding of what the tech had to have that would protect our clients. And so that was a really big point. So when we interviewed tech teams to build this, we brought in a couple of advisors that were experts in building tech and building cybersecurity and SOC 2 certification and all these other fun things in order to say, okay, this is really what we need in the technology, and this is the right team to work with to build what we want. So we really took our time with that. And then we decided, okay, but what is it that we're really trying to solve for, and who are we really trying to reach, and who are we trying to support? And that's when, as you and I have discussed on other podcasts, that's when the real journey becomes, right? For a startup, where you really start to, pivot and weave and come back and forth and be like, okay, where are we going? What are we doing?
Yeah, and walk us through that a bit more. I know we touched on it on some of the previous podcasts, but so now walk us through a little bit of you get, you one, you identified the problem, two, you kind of got or started to build the team in place and get the structure of the business. Now from there, kind of as you did get the business up and going and started to build it and to grow it, kind of walk us through a little bit of that, as you said, bobbing and weaving or pivoting as you went along.
Yeah, so when we created the business, we thought we were going to really focus on the concierge service part of the business, meaning the research and the support, and then the technology sort of supported that part. And we thought, oh, we're going to go sort of a high-end concierge service for elder care for the caregiver that's supporting the elder, and we're going to layer under that the technology. And the more we did customer discovery and the more we spoke to people in our target persona, we realized that the technology had to lead and the concierge services come under. And that through a subscription model of the tech, through the app and the platform, you sort of captivate a group of people, right? And it's an easy sell as a subscription, monthly subscription. People are used to that. They're used to an app, a platform. And then if and when they need additional services, they already know you, they trust you, they're using your app, right? Or your platform. And then they can call you for additional services. So there's already an established relationship. And that was a really big pivot for us. And so then we started to focus more in that direction, and sort of switching it a little bit from more of concierge to leading with the tech and then layering the concierge services.
Well, makes sense, and sounds like a good evolution along the way. So, well, while this is about the founding journey, but take a minute or catch us up, kind of, as things have evolved, where are things at today, and kind of where do you see things headed and continuing forward?
So there's been a few more pivots, like any startup journey, which we've learned a lot. You definitely learn a lot when you have. And you launch with an idea and you create the product. So we were very methodical in a lot of ways, and I'm very proud of us for that, where maybe we didn't launch as quickly or as rapidly because we were methodical. So we were very methodical about the tech, and then we are very methodical about what are we leading with. And then we really focused on customer discovery and conversations and understanding what our customer really wanted. We did beta testers and testing the tech and getting their feedback. And then from there, we went to direct to consumer, knowing that wasn't really our end goal was direct to consumer, but we went direct to consumer again to continue this customer discovery, this understanding of who our ideal persona is, the information they're looking for, how they want to work, how they want to handle, and what they're willing to pay for, right? It gives you a big idea in pricing and things like that. And then we transitioned into B2B2C sales. So then we started to really go into the business opportunity with HR and benefits and platforms that sell benefits and wellness and people that specialize in Medicare and this whole world around elder care, right? And the senior living communities, and what are they presenting to their residents and the families. So that was also sort of a transition in how we were growing the business. And so now we're really focused on the B2B2C sale. Of course, like I always say, we're not going to turn down revenue. And if we have a direct to consumer that wants to work with us, by all means, that's great. But as we all know, the amount of money that it takes in marketing and PR for direct to consumer versus much larger audiences through businesses reaching that end user, it's a lot easier and faster in a lot of ways. But sales cycles are sales cycles, and so it's not super fast, but that's where we are now. So we do have current corporate clients, and we are working with them, and we saw, like I said, direct to consumer clients as well.
Awesome. Well, sounds like it's been a great journey and some good evolutions, learning along the way, pivoting and moving forward. So it sounds like a fun journey yet to have, and great founding episode. So, well, perfect. Well, now as we've kind of gone through in a bit deeper dive on the founding journey, as well as or where you're at, or kind of catching up on where things are at today, always a great time to transition to the question I like to wrap up each episode with. So or we'll jump to that now, which is, so if you could go back, and I understand things are still, in quotes earlier on and still are evolving and still progressing. But if you go back to the early days of the business, what'd be the one decision you make differently?
That's a great question. I think the one of the decisions I would change is launching with the technology, leading that, and then the concierge services and pricing according to that.
Hmm. No, sounds like, it's one where sometimes, they once you see what works and what the endpoint is and where the business should be, then you always wish you'd be able to short circuit that a bit or go back and accelerate that focus. But nonetheless, you get it, or sometimes just have to go through the motions of learning that along the way and figuring it out. So definitely a great one to learn from.
Yeah,
So
I
now,
think you do have to go through the motions. I think it's important, actually.
absolutely. So, well, now as we wrap towards the end of the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Karina, Karina, at motivitycare.com is the best way, or motivitycare.com, the website. They can fill out an informational form on there. If they want to be a customer, we do a free assessment form. If it's an HR team or a senior living community that wants it for their residents, or an HR team that wants it for their workforce, they can just reach out to us. It's also very important that I did not mention we are fully in English and Spanish, and that was very important to me from day one, to be completely bilingual. So we are very much addressing as much of the workforce as possible by offering it both in English and Spanish.
Awesome. Well, definitely a lot of great opportunities to reach out, support a great business, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again, Karina, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all the other listeners who are out there, if you do want to share your journey, either on the Inventive Unicorn platform, either via our webinars and or the podcast, feel free to go and apply at inventiveunicorn.com. A couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Really helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Karina, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much, Devin. I really, really appreciate it. And like I said, always fun to talk to you and to be on these podcasts with you.